morning, you guys, it's Karen, and I'm here to talk about my guardian angel. And I'm doing this because I am really cynical, and I never called it a guardian angel, and I never thought it was a guardian angel. I just thought it was a really weird thing that happened to me that I could not explain, and then later somebody mentioned it. I'll tell you, there's three kind of separate stories, but that all relate to the same thing. And I should start by telling you again, in case you don't know, I am not religious, not really a believer in sort of afterlife, but I have an interest in all things spiritual. You know, I've been to see John Edwards, for example, because I love all those kind of programs, and I love them from the point of view of watching and seeing if I can pick out how they're cold reading, which obviously sometimes you can do that, but also I suppose I'm always watching them with a hope of being convinced. And you know, with my dad dying, it made it even more interesting to me as to whether or not there's an afterlife. But I've always been cynical really since being an adult. And yeah, okay, so let me tell you what happened. The very first thing that happened. The first thing that happened was I was going for an interview. I was not working and I was looking for a job, and my background was in hotels at the time, hotel management, night management, and I was going for an interview in the George Hotel in Edinburgh. It doesn't exist anymore, actually. It's now, well, the hotel is still there, but it's called something else. I can't remember what it's called. But it was a George Hotel in George Street in Edinburgh. And I went in for the interview, had the interview with a lovely lady, and it all seemed to go okay. I was quite nervous about going for the interview because I had never worked at that point in a hotel that was as high star as that. So anyway, we had the interview on the kind of in the basement somewhere, and she walked me back up to reception. It was a massive place. And the reception was not just a reception where you come in the doors and the reception was there. You came in the doors and there was a great big, like almost dining room, but there was some sort of seats, some sort of sofas, and you know, it was massive. And there was a concierge desk halfway across this great big floor, this lovely beautiful marble floor, and I think there was a bar off it actually, and then there was the great big reception desk at the end. So she took me up to the reception desk, but just as she was about to say goodbye, she said to me, "Oh, let me go and get you those leaflets I told you I'd give you." I can't remember what she said she'd give me, but she was going to give me something to do with the hotel to have a read over. And so I said, okay, no problem. She said, "You wait here." So off she went. And then I saw there was nobody in the reception area other than the concierge. And there wasn't when I arrived. I think it must have been midweek, middle of the day, and it was just very quiet. But then I saw this woman come in from sort of behind the reception area, not behind the staff bit, but from that direction. I don't know whether the rooms were that direction, I can't remember. I think there was another restaurant that direction. But she started walking, and she was a lady with a pushchair. And I looked at her and I thought, well, that's odd, because she's dressed like something from Oliver Twist. You know, she was in like sort of raggedy, old, dirty clothes, and I couldn't really see the baby. I could see there was a baby in this pushchair, but I couldn't see anything else. And she sort of walked past me and walked past the concierge, and I just thought, how odd. And I was thinking, maybe it's a staff member and she's bringing the baby in to see the staff, and there was a fancy dress or something, or, you know, I just was looking at it thinking, that's really peculiar. Like, why would you be dressed like that in a hotel like this? It was just all very odd. But she walked past me, and I watched her all the way to the exit, to the main doors. And as she got outside, she turned around, looked directly at me. I'm standing waiting at the reception for this woman, Hoda, her name was, to come back with leaflets, and said to me, "You did fine," or "You did really well," something like that. I can't remember the exact words now. I think it was "You did fine." And I sort of looked like this, you know, like who's she talking to? And I thought maybe she's talking to the concierge, but he was kind of off to the right, and she was clearly looking directly at me. And so then she disappeared, and I was like, how does she even know? And I was like, oh, you know, she must be a member of staff, because she must have known that I had an interview, and that's why she's saying she did fine. Somebody's told her, oh yes, so-and-so was in for an interview for the night manager and she did fine. And I was like, but I'm gonna go and like run out or maybe ask her or just go out and have a look. So I ran to the front doors and looked out, and I couldn't see anybody, but it was, you know, Edinburgh's a busy street. Edinburgh George Street is busy, and I couldn't see her, and I thought, oh well. So I went back in and I asked the concierge, and I said to him, who was that woman that walked past? Is it somebody that works here? And he said to me, what woman? And I was like thinking, surely you couldn't have been that away in your own world, because he wasn't like he was reading the paper or anything. Like, he was just sitting looking around the room, you know. He wasn't looking down, he wasn't doing anything. He was sitting looking exactly where she would have passed. And I was like, you know, the woman with the pushchair that walked right across the main floor, and she went out, and he was like, no, I didn't see anybody. And I was just like, okay, that was really weird. And I was just like, I was really freaked out by it. Now, when I first relayed this story, that's all that happened that day. And I told my friend Derek, I probably told my friend Tracy, I told anybody that would listen, because I was like, oh, wait till I tell you what happened. What's that all about? Somebody might have said to me, oh, maybe that was your guardian angel. And I would have just said, that was so ridiculous. I don't believe in that, you know. And what a weird thing. Like, she didn't speak to me when she was passing me. She waited till she was outside, you know, and just said, you did fine. Like, that's just odd. But somebody, whoever, I don't know if it was Derek or Tracy, but somebody said to me, but if she was, and they knew the George Hotel, they were like, if she was at the doors and you were at the reception, how did you hear her when she said you did fine? It wasn't until they asked me that question that I thought back, and I was like, you know what it was? I could see her lips moving and I could hear it in my ear. And again, when I remembered that, it kind of freaked me out even more. And I don't know why I didn't realise that at the time. All it was she said you did fine, and I heard it. It didn't clock to me that she was that far away and that I could hear it in my ear. But when somebody asked me, and I was like, oh, you know what? You're right. Somebody just saying it wasn't. She didn't shout it or anything. Somebody saying in a normal voice at the exit doors. You wouldn't hear it if you were standing at reception, but I heard it in my ear. And so yeah, when I realised that, I was even more freaked out. But I kept thinking about it. I remember. I could even see myself sitting on the bus going to work, and I did get the job, by the way. And there was a few spooky things happened in that hotel, and one of them was just a prank. But I just remember sitting on the bus going to work and trying to figure out, like, well, what can that have been, you know? Because like I said, I'm a cynic, and I'm always trying to figure out what can that be that is not supernatural. So anyway, I couldn't figure it out, and I thought nothing else of it. And then I left that hotel. I bloody hated that job. Absolutely hated it. I had my team of night porters. One was an alcoholic, one was on drugs. One didn't like me because he should have got the job. It was just a nightmare. I'll tell you about that in another story time if you like. But I was looking for another job. And this was only, I don't know, I wasn't there long. It was like 6 months later or something. And I had got an interview at the Holiday Inn, I think it was. And this was the other side of Edinburgh, so it was in kind of the West End. And I was walking along this road. I don't even know the name of this road, but I was walking along this massive long road, and I could not find the hotel. I was like, I don't understand where this hotel is. And I thought, I'm going to stop and ask somebody. And as I said that, I noticed this woman walking towards me with a child in a pushchair. Now, I didn't recognise that was the woman that was at the George Hotel. She didn't have, to my knowledge, she didn't have like old raggedy clothes on. I think that would have stuck out like it did in the George Hotel. But I just remember thinking, oh, I'll ask this woman. And there was no connection for me at all. But I went up to this woman and I said, excuse me, I wonder if you can help me. I'm looking for, and she finished my sentence and said, the Holiday Inn Express, or whatever it was, Holiday Inn, she said, it's up there on the left and you'll do fine. And so I was like, oh, thank you very much. And I turned around and I was like, what? What's she saying you'll do fine for? Like how does she know I'm going for an interview? And I was like, and I was thinking, oh, and I was in quite a rush. So I wasn't like, I didn't instantly turn back. I was just thinking, I've got to get to this interview. But I was thinking, when she said, oh, the Holiday Inn, it's up there, I thought, oh, there must be loads of people that can't find this hotel. It's not obvious where it is. And so she's just used to being asked because she's a local, you know. But then when I thought, she said, you'll do fine. And I thought, well, how does she know what I'm going for? You know, and at that point I kind of turned back to see it and I couldn't see anybody. And it wasn't a busy street, and it wasn't one with loads of like turn-offs. The only place to turn off that she could have gone, I remember thinking, is she could have gone into there was the Royal Institute for the Blind or something there. And I remember thinking she could have gone in there. But I was in such a rush to get to this interview that I just kind of, again, sort of forgot about it, you know, and I thought that was weird that she said that. And like I said, it wasn't instantly recognisable. It wasn't like, oh, that was that woman that I saw in the George. It wasn't, I couldn't say that it was the same person. So, again, thought nothing of it, but couldn't explain why she said you'll do fine. I did do fine. I did get offered the job, but I didn't take it. I don't know whether I went to work for juries at that point or what, but I didn't take that job. And then, yeah, it must have been juries, and I worked for juries for a year. Nothing else ever happened for that year. And I kind of forgot about it. I would tell people about it now and then, you know. But then I left juries and went to, juries in Edinburgh I worked at, and I left juries and went to Ireland. I went to Dublin, and I got a job in the Holiday Inn in Dublin, in Pearse Street, and made really good friends there, and had such a laugh while I was there. You know, there was a lot of things that I didn't like about it, but I had such good fun with the people I met, and they were so nice. And I made one really good friend there called Sakura, and I spent Christmas at Sakura's, and, you know, we were really good friends. We went out, I had a trip to London together and whatnot, and she was telling me that she was having a kind of gypsy psychic round at a house that she'd used for years and had readings. She was just like, do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, like I said, I'm always interested in that kind of thing. So I was like, yeah, why not? I don't believe that I had ever told Sakura about the experience that I'd had in Edinburgh, because I didn't, like I said, I'm such a cynic. I didn't think of it as a guardian angel. I just thought of it as a weird experience that I couldn't explain. So I don't think that I had told anything to Sakura about it. And she hadn't seen or spoke. She was telling us, you know, that she didn't, this psychic always turned up, and she wasn't particularly friends with her, but every time she came, she told us something. She had predicted Sakura's son, and she said, so I hope she doesn't say that somebody's going to get pregnant or something like that. So anyway, there was about 4 of us, I think. There was Sakura and a sister and a friend, and I was the last one to go into, it was in Sakura's bedroom, and I went in, and I remember the woman said, you know, you'll have to excuse me, she said, because my energy is really low now because I have done, you know, these 3 and they were long and tiring, and so my apologies. But she said, the first thing I want to ask you, she says 2 things. One, why are you afraid of the water? You live near the water in Edinburgh. As I was saying that, I was thinking, did she say Edinburgh? I can't say whether or not she said Edinburgh, Scotland, actually thinking about it. But she wasn't wrong. Although I was in Ireland and living with a friend in Ireland, I'd kept my flat on in Edinburgh because I loved it so much. And so I still paid the rent on my little flat in Edinburgh, and it was right by the sea. And so she couldn't have been more right on that one. And she said, the other thing I want to ask you is, who have you brought in with you? And I said to her, what do you mean? And she said, well, often people bring in like relatives or somebody that's looking out for them. She said, and you've brought in a woman with a baby in a pushchair. And I was like, and I said, but I don't know who that is. And I said, nobody's died around me that's like got a baby, or I don't know who that is. And she said, well, that must be your guardian angel then. She said, because she came in with you. And that did freak me out the most out of anything that happened, because she didn't refer to the incidents in Edinburgh or anything like that, but it's just the fact that she said, you know, you've brought a woman and a baby in with you. And I was like, oh my God. She said a few other things. She got a few other things right. She said, she was talking about my flat and being afraid of the water, which I am. And she talked about an operation that I'd had where I lost a lot of blood. She said, I can see you lost a lot of blood. And I had an operation on the base of my back when I was in my 20s. And I had to sign to say that I was going to have a transfusion if the blood didn't stop by later that day or something like that. And thankfully I didn't end up needing it. But yeah, that was kind of the last I heard of it and the last I thought about it. I've never since seen this woman or had anything ever mentioned about it. I mean, I haven't really seen any psychics since then, have I? No, I saw one when my nan died, but you know, I suppose I've never really tuned into it either, because I think the thing is about these experiences, you need to be open, and I'm not really open. As I've mentioned to you guys, what's happened since my dad died is robins are appearing everywhere. Like, not only on the little birdhouse that I've put up, which makes sense that they would be appearing. That's not so much of a coincidence. But when I go on walks, and we've always gone on walks with Watson, obviously, but now all of a sudden, every time I stop, there's a robin somewhere in the tree. And as I start walking, it sort of seems to follow us, you know, I'm like, Kev, look. And even Kev is a little bit like, wow, I can't believe that. You know, every time we look, it's following us everywhere we go. But maybe that's what robins do. And maybe they always did that. But my interest in birds has kind of opened my eyes to that. That's kind of what the whole law of attraction, etc., is all about. You know, you start seeing things. It's like when, I don't know, when you, like, I bought my blue car thinking that's a really unusual blue. It's kind of the colour of this top. And I was like, at least I better find it in a car park. All I see then is bloody blue cars, you know. So I think some of it's that. So I still can't to this day explain it away. And I don't know what I believe. I don't know if you would think that I would believe that that was a guardian angel, because of the fact that somebody in Ireland, you know, so far away, said I walked in with this woman and child. But I think that's a very odd thing. If it was a guardian angel, was she just a guardian angel of jobs? Because lots of other things have happened where I could have done with a guardian angel, you know, and who is she? Is she just somebody random? And why is she pushing a baby? And why was she in really old clothes then, and then I didn't recognise her then? And I don't know, it's just all very odd. So I don't know what my explanation is for it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially if you've got any, well, either way, if you think it was a guardian angel, I'd love to hear. But if you've got any thoughts on what could explain it, I'd love to hear that as well. I'm always hoping to be convinced. I'm always searching for something that convinces me that there is more to life. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.